Hi everyone, my name is Lisa Ann Alexander and I am the owner and creative director for a company called Pretty Work Creative here in Houston, Texas. And I also have the pleasure of speaking to audiences on topics that vary from marketing and branding to women empowerment and leadership issues. So I'm glad to be here with you today. Thank you for joining me in this session. What if I look stupid? What if I look stupid? So this is the courage to ask for what you want, and then we'll talk about some of the communication skills that you need in order to get that. So let's go ahead and get started. I know a man named Tom, and Tom is an oil and gas executive. This is Houston after all. And he was in the market for a new position, for a new job. And he went and sat and talked with a particular company, and they asked him what he wanted. And Tom, without even flinching, he said that he wanted security detail, he wanted a home, he wanted a car provided for him, he wanted X amount of dollars, he wanted 4 weeks paid vacation, and he starts rattling off this list of things that would be needed or necessary in order to get him to move from the company where he was to this new company. And so I asked Tom, I'm sitting here listening to him, and he's just rattling off all this information and what he wants. And I asked him, I says, well, did you get it? And he says, no, I just answered the question. He asked me what I wanted, and I told him. And I thought about that. He asked unapologetically for what he wanted, didn't flinch. You asked me, here it is. And he gave his list. And I thought about how many women struggle with that question, what do you want? Because a lot of times we'll stumble through an answer, or we're not real sure, especially if we have to answer the question off the top of our heads. And we can come across as flaky, we can come across as unsure, unstable, because we haven't thought about it, what we really want, and really have the ability to articulate that to someone else who asks us. And so what we can learn from Tom is when someone asks you what it is that you want, that you be able to articulate it, not flinching, unapologetically, state what it is that you want with no regard to the other person, if they'll be able to even respond or fulfill your request. Here's what I want. I know what I want. If you can make that happen, great. If not, there's somebody else who is. And so that's such a valuable lesson for us as women, in particular, to learn that if you want something, know what it is that you want and be able to articulate that to whoever it is that asks. So I hope you have pen and paper ready. This is an interactive workshop. So list for me the top 3 things that you want in your personal life. And then after you write those down, consider, what do you want out of your business life? What are the top 3 things that you want in your professional life? And then after you answer those questions, why? State your why purposes. Why do you want those things? Why don't we ask for what we want? Or is it even okay to ask for the things that we want and need? And having worked with women over the course of a number of years, I've come to find out that fear is the biggest factor why women don't ask for what they want. They're afraid that someone's going to tell them no. They're afraid that they'll be laughed at. They're afraid that they'll fail. If they get what they want or ask for something, they're afraid of failure. So fear plays a big part in us not even asking for what it is that we want or need. The second reason is rejection. We don't want to be rejected. We don't want to be told no. And we internalize that rejection and we take it personally. And so we won't ask because we're afraid of the no, not realizing that the answer could also be yes. Then we tend to overthink things. We can think ourselves out of our own success and out of our own greatness. So we're afraid to ask, or we won't ask because we overthink it. We make things more complicated than they need to be. Sometimes our core beliefs or philosophies that we hold keep us from asking from what we want. And I'll explain that one a little later in detail. And then the fifth thing that I know for sure is that we sometimes view ourselves as unworthy. We're not even worthy to ask for the thing that we want, that we're not worthy to get what we want. Who are we to want success for our businesses or to have a successful or happy personal life? We're not worthy. We think that we're not worthy of it, and that keeps us from asking as well. And none of these should be valid reasons for not asking and not getting what it is that you want. So this is a woman who has done the work, she's put in the time, and she was asked, I asked her, I said, there's an award ceremony coming up and you can self-nominate. And I said, I think you would be absolutely wonderful. You should consider self-nominating. And her response was, oh, I would never do anything like that. I wouldn't put myself out there like that. And my question was, why? Why wouldn't you do that? And she's like, that's just not something that I believe that I would do. Somebody else would have to do it for me. And I remembered just leaving that conversation a little bewildered, because I remember someone saying that sometimes you do have to toot your own horn, and that as women, sometimes we don't always like to do that, or it's a struggle to do that, or to acknowledge our own accomplishments, because we have this belief that somebody else should do that and I shouldn't do that myself, or that I'll look arrogant. That's the big thing, that I'll look arrogant, or that I'm full of myself, or that I have a big head. That's a term here in the States, that you've got this big head, and you won't even ask for the award, even though she was credible. She had the experience, she had the expertise, she had the background, she had the skills, she had the years of experience, was definitely a shoo-in for this award, but would not self-nominate. And I thought that was very sad. So sometimes our beliefs can keep us from asking what it is that we really want. So I want you to ask yourself, what are some beliefs that you have? Do you have any self-limiting beliefs that won't let you fully put yourself out there, that won't let you fully shine and be your greatest you? So here's what I want you to do. Answer the question for me. When was the last time you did not ask for what you want? Think about it. When was the last time you didn't ask for what you wanted? And what was the outcome? How did that make you feel? I want you to hold on to that feeling and to that moment and remember that. So sometimes women, we come in all different shapes, sizes. We come with all different personalities. You have some women who are type A's, who have dominant personalities and, have no problem, just matter-of-factly. And then the rest of us, aren't so aggressive, so out there. But that doesn't mean you can't ask for what you want. So here's my truth. That I can be soft, I can be feminine, I can be sexy, and still have the audacity to ask and get what I want. That's my truth. I don't have to become overly aggressive, or that B word that they like to call us. Now, if you view that, if that's your view, that's you, that has nothing to do with me. I can still be me and ask for what I want, confidently ask for what I want, and get that very thing. Here's what you can expect when you ask for what you want. Sometimes the answer will be yes. Yay for yes. You get it. No questions asked. You get it. Sometimes the answer will be no. And you have to kind of know how to negotiate. Maybe it's not a firm no. Maybe there's some negotiation involved. But sometimes the answer will be no. Unfortunately, when you do ask, especially in business, women in business, and we've seen it time and time again, when women ask, sometimes there's retaliation that's involved. And you have to be careful. So when you are asking for something and it's critical and it's crucial, Be prepared that sometimes there's retaliation for you asking for what you want. So make sure that if it's a big stake item, that it's really worth going after. Sometimes the answer is no, sometimes the answer is yes, and then sometimes there can be retaliation involved for you asking for what you want. I teach a class called Death of a Nice Girl, and we talk about how nice girls can be very judgmental. Sometimes people will judge you for asking for what you want. Who do you think you are to ask for a raise? Who do you think you are to ask for X amount of dollars for your project? Who do you think you are to ask for time off? That's when all of your why. Remember a few slides ago we talked about what it is that you want and why? Well, when people begin to judge you, that's where your why comes into place, and you have to know that internally. I deserve this because here's my why I deserve this, why I want it, and you have to know this, and it stays in the forefront of your head, in the forefront of your mind, what it is that you want and your why, because people will judge you. So you have to stay true to your why, so when people get to talking, and unfortunately they will, but that's them, that has nothing to do with you, that's their response to your greatness, to your awesomeness. I just need you to flow in that. But be prepared. Some people are very judgmental when you start asking and getting the thing that you ask for. What happens when you ask? You make new friends. It absolutely happens. And then on the flip side, you'll lose some friends because you had the audacity to ask for what you wanted. So just be prepared. Good things and some bad things can kind of happen when you, and I want you to be realistic. Go in knowing that this could happen. Set your expectations and go from there. But you can get a yes, you can get a no. There could be retaliation. This is the business world that we're in. There could be judgment against you. People hold you in contempt. Who do you think you are? You may win some friends and you may lose some. So those are a few of the things that can happen when you ask for what you want. But you can always expect a win, and there may be some losses. So just know that going in, when you ask, there are consequences, good ones and bad ones. Just be prepared, all right? Remember a few slides ago, I shared my truth, and that is that I can be soft, I can be feminine, I can be playful, I can be me, and still have the audacity to ask for what I want and get it. That's my truth, that's my mantra. So I want you, at the end of this empowerment phase of this particular seminar, I want you to develop your own mantra, your own truth that you can stand in your professional and in your business life, in your personal life. Develop your own mantra. So here are a couple that you can go from. I have the right. I have the right to ask for what I want and expect to receive it. I know what I want, and I'm not afraid and I'm not ashamed to ask for it and to pursue it. I know how to ask for what I want. So now that we've talked about women's empowerment, and you are definitely worth asking, that you may, tackle those core beliefs that say you shouldn't even ask, or that you're not even worthy of certain things. Hopefully we've got a good handle on that, and that you now know that you have a right to ask, that you can summon the courage. You don't have to be afraid. And we're going to talk about in this second half of this session on some communication skills so that you can ask for what you want, and then even some negotiating tips, because those are necessary. Because remember, sometimes we said the answer is no. And so how do you handle a no? How do you handle the rejection? So here's what we know. There are two ways of communication. So Western countries such as the US, North America, well, we'll say the US, and Europe, some European countries, we have a low context communication style. And what does that mean? That means that we like our communications to be clear, concise, direct, to the point, no extra, state your purpose, why are you here, what do you want, you ask for it, you're real clear. So no ambiguity. There is no ambiguity in Western speak. So in other countries, where communication is more conversational and they may not be direct, that's a different style of communication. So for this particular session, we're going to talk about Western communication style, the low context communication. So that's what we're going to base our communication style on for this particular session. So in Western conversation, Western communication, I want you to think, if you think of a bullseye, you have the center and then everything spirals out, right? So in Western communication speak or low context speaking, you get to the bullseye first, state your point, state your purpose, and then give all the supporting information afterwards, because people want to hear the point first and then all the supporting information. So that's going to help you in your asking for what you want. In a low context country and where clear, concise communication is key, you want to state your point and then give your supporting documentation, your information, and here's why. So in a low context country, that's how you would communicate that. And so as women, and especially dealing with the other gender, most men in Western societies prefer that kind of communication. So if you're doing business with men or with people with dominant personalities, they want get to the point. Don't bore them with minutia. You know, you may think it's important, but for them it's like, get to the point. So remember that in your asking, when you're asking and you so deserve to get what you want. So remember to get to the point and then do the supporting information. So same thing, top down, think top down. So what's at the top of your pyramid and then all the supporting information underneath. Start with the top, work your way down, or start with the bullseye and work your way out. There are some permission words and phrases that women tend to use in Western society, and it lessens your power. It doesn't always get you what you need or what you want. And so you want to use these words and phrases sparingly and exchange them for powerful phrases. So one of the words is just. I just wanted to see if you received my email. I sent it a couple of days ago, just checking in, just want to see if everything is okay. What's another way to say that so that you get to keep your power and get the response you're looking for? So how would you rephrase that, taking out the word I was just? The next word on our list of permission phrases is sorry. And here in the States, there's a hashtag that says sorry, not sorry, because as women, we tend to apologize for things that don't need to be apologized for. Let's say you place an order for cupcakes, for 12 cupcakes and only 10 come. Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, I ordered 12. And it's like, it's not your fault. Don't apologize for someone else's mistake. And so those kinds of phrases, they reduce our power, and we're going to need that power when we're asking for what we want. I had the chance to talk to a meeting planner, and we had a very long, very beneficial conversation. And she was saying, there's a thing you do if you're a speaker, you pitch your idea, your speaking platform, your presentation, you pitch it to meeting planners. And this particular meeting planner told me, she says she absolutely hates it when she gets an email that says, I know you're busy, but. Because that one phrase, I know you're busy, but, what that really says to someone who's in a position of power, to be able to, the person that's able to grant you the thing that you want, what that says is that, I know you're busy, I'm not that important. What I have to say is not that important. You know, it downplays who you are and what you're bringing to the table. So she says she will trash every single email. You haven't gotten past hello, because she said that's the one thing. She says, because if you're not confident even in your email when you're pitching your idea, I know you're busy, but, then you're not worth me listening to. And so the way to approach that is, you have to think of it as, I am the best thing that is going to happen to your day. What I have to say is going to change your world. So I'm not apologizing for the intrusion into your email box, in your inbox. And so that's the way you have to think about it. Never, I know you're busy, but my interruption is going to be worth it. And that's how you have to look at it. So here's one for, as business owners, we're working for ourselves. Here's one you want to remove from your vocabulary altogether. It's okay, you don't have to buy now. Don't say those words. You don't want to say those words. You want to create a win-win for you and for your client. You don't want to tell your client, you don't want to shoo them out the door to the next virtual assistant or to the next, whatever your business is. You don't want to shoo them out the door. It's okay, you don't have to buy. Please remove that one from your vocabulary and let's find a win-win, because you want the gig. You want to get paid for that job. That's going to look really good in your portfolio. So don't shoot them out the door. Oh, you don't have to buy now. It's okay. Never say those words. Find the win-win for the both of you. All right, so we're getting ready to close, and I wanted to end with negotiation 101 for women. So these are some important things to remember, because remember we said that you won't always get what you ask for. Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes there's consequences. Sometimes there's repercussions. Sometimes it's yes. More times than not, it's yes, you get what you want, and you make the new friends, and you get the contract, you get the gig, and life is wonderful because you asked. And you're not miserable because you didn't even ask and you didn't get it and you're wondering what could have been. So none of that's happened, because you are now empowered and you can ask for what you want. And so here are some negotiation skills if it ever comes to no, if you get the no. So here's the first point: know what you want and remember your why. You are negotiating to protect your interest. You're not going in to lose. You're going in to negotiate and protect your interest. Be willing to walk away and then do it. Don't be scared to walk away from the negotiation table. If it's not working for you, if there's not a win-win, don't be afraid to walk away from the table. There's a young lady who speaks, and she travels all the time and she speaks. And one of the things she says is that she sets her price. Her price to speak is her price to speak. Non-negotiable. But what she does do, so say someone hires her, but they can't pay her all of the money. What she'll do is negotiate. Well, if you buy so many of my books, she's also an author. If you buy so many of my books, that will make up the price, it'll make up the difference. She still gets paid her full value and her full worth, but she didn't take less than what she wanted, and it was a win-win for everybody. They got this incredible speaker. She got everything that she wanted. If you feel yourself getting flustered, emotional, take a break. You don't want them to see you sweat. You don't want to let them see you tear up. So if before you get to that point, take a moment. It's like, I need to take a break. Be right back. And get yourself together. Take your deep breathing. I'm a firm believer in taking deep breaths, clearing all of that, and then you can go back to the negotiating table. Maintain direct eye contact, because that speaks of confidence. So if you're negotiating for what you really want, you're protecting your interest, you know what you want, you know where your value is, you want to create a win-win, keep that eye contact, because that speaks of confidence. Here's something very key in negotiating. Use silence. Don't be afraid, women, don't be afraid of the silence. Silence is powerful in negotiating. And don't get uncomfortable. If they get quiet, you can sit quietly as well and wait them out. You don't have to respond immediately to and that's key too. You don't have to respond immediately to everything. Take a moment to pause and to think, and then state what it is that you want and need. But use silence. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the silence. Never apologize or say it's okay when it's not. In negotiation, never apologize or say okay when it's not. So again, leave those permission phrases. Just don't ever use those, not especially when you're going to negotiate. So my last tip when negotiating your communication and getting what you want, keep it light, infuse humor. These negotiations can be tense, but they don't always have to be. Keep it light, infuse humor, and not the self-deprecating kind either. Where you make fun of yourself or belittle yourself. Never do that. Not in negotiation. We don't come down from our positions of power, because we want and deserve and are worth getting the thing that we want and what we ask for. So that's our time together. I'm pretty sure I am right at my time. So I hope that you enjoyed and are taking away some great information, some things that can help you get what it is that you want out of your life and out of your business, that looking stupid is not even an option, because we have, we have these new skills now. We know that we are worth it, that we have every right to ask for what we want, and now we have some communication skills to actually put in place, and the next time we ask, we can get it. We won't even be afraid to ask this. So thank you so much. I enjoyed our time together, and if you need to reach me, you can always reach me at Lisa N as in Nancy, LisaNAlexander.com. If you have any questions, I do have a workbook that's attached to this. If you want the workbook, email me. We'll get you all signed up on the list, on my email list, and we'll send you the workbook so that you can work through all of it together. So thank you again so much, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.